Malo mo la malia hoiki, pepe he whoki ki he tonga mo i wulang katoa, o mo mea mai ki he polo karama ko i ai TWN, pe koe Tonga World News this evening. Koe e whiawhi whalai tēni, pe koe aho tahataha no February, o wanoa mā ua. Koe au atan talelea ki mō tōru, koe e whiawhini, o kai ta special guest i he studio, he whiawhini, ai a ko Gabriel. Pea koa mo Emeline o ko ma whatake atu ai ngā weni he whiawhini. Tok mau o wharahi at kei te moto, ka te tau kamata i he minute ka ni malo a aupito.
Malala malia Hawaii ki pea lele a tonga kata mo mea mai ki he programa e whiawhini. E whawhalaite whakene o kia e tau special guest i he whiawhini, but let me introduce you to him. Gabriel Bacopa wrote several books, including a collection of short stories and a novel. His father is Palestinian and his mother is Israel Jewish. In other words, from both sides of the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Gabriel was born and raised in South California and have lived here his whole life. So he has a podcast where me and Brenda were guests yesterday called Collapsology. It's about the potential collapse of civilization and the USA. So welcome, Gabriel.
Thank you.
Anything you wanted to add on? I went to Amazon after you told me you wrote several books, and I seen all the books that you wrote. And one of them is, can you? Is it Tales of the?
Oh,
What's the book?
Tales of Modern Madness. It's a
There
collection
you
of short.
go.
It's a collection of short stories. Yeah.
Okay. So yes,
It
and today we will be talking about monarchy versus democracy. Yeah.
right.
So
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, I was going to say my fiction book kind of on the lines of the idea of modern society being sort of mad or sort of crazy.
Mm.
That's the idea of each story has kind of a little aspect of that.
It's fascinating because you came across our TWN network for some reason on social media, and then we were at your show yesterday, and now you on our show tonight. So
I'm very happy. I'd
what's
love to
the
be on the
art
show.
of that? So yeah, go ahead and you know what? We from Tonga, like you said, Monarchy. I know you love Monarchy. Tell us a little bit about why you love the Monarchy, because Brenda and I, we love our Monarchy.
Well, there's a lot I could say about this because I always tell my family I love monarchies and I hate democracy, and they don't they don't understand like why, and they think that's weird or something because I was born and raised in USA, and the USA is quote unquote democracy, and everybody, most people don't think that most people here don't like monarchies because the whole history of USA is built upon a revolt against the monarchy, which was the British monarchy. But what I would say about monarchies versus democracy, first thing I want to say is that um, all these wars nowadays that are happening, majority of wars nowadays have to do with people wanting democracy. Like when the Arab Spring happened, they wanted democracy. They made a revolution, and then the governments cracked down, and then you had armed groups fighting, and then eventually became wars. So that's why in Yemen now there are children starving to death, and in Syria it was a horrible war. I mean, I literally in my own city, Syrian children visited, and they had their whole faces burned off from bombs. You don't even recognize them. I mean, children, little children, their faces burned off from bombs. And first of all, okay, if people want democracy and freedom, I mean, okay, it sounds nice, but then what does that usually lead to? Like now in Myanmar, Ethiopia, we have wars and they're fighting over elections. In America, Trump versus Biden, and people are disputing over elections, and now people think that could be get into a civil war. And so my personal opinion is I think people kind of that democracy is kind of overrated. It's kind of like, people think of it too highly, and they want this thing so much that they're willing to go die and kill and risk the lives of innocent people. Like it doesn't make sense. That's the first thing I want to say about it. But another thing I wanted to say is that America democracy is based upon the idea of freedom, and sometimes they take this idea way too far in ways that I don't think it's really supposed to go. Whereas in a monarchy, you have sort of a tradition. I think in Tonga, it's kind of a Christian tradition, a monarchy,
Yes.
morals and values. In America, this whole idea that they have a personal freedom, which has no tradition behind it, now it's become gay, LGBT, gays, transgender, everybody, little kids being taught about gays, little kids being taught about that stuff. And the statistics say that the number of kids becoming LGBT, I don't know if the people in Tonga know what this means. LGBT is going way up, like 39%. One statistic says 17%. When I was in high school, it was only maybe, very, very small percentage. Now all the kids are like identifying this way, and you think, well, why is this? And I think it's based upon kind of false ideas, like, false concepts which go against established traditional, norms, traditional family, traditional life, and just where it becomes everybody does whatever the heck they want, even if that means something that's totally wrong. Do you understand my point?
Yes.
And
Yes.
also the whole question of pornography. This must be a big problem. I mean, in the internet, this is a huge problem all around the world, and it's legal in the USA. It's legal in all these democracies. Why don't they make it illegal? It's wrong, but because it's freedom. And then it's, little kids are watching pornography all over the world because of smartphones. And I mean, that's really bad. I mean, it's like, it's very horrible. So that's why I like the old systems. I like the old way of life. I think Tonga should stay simple, should stay traditional. Don't like look and see, okay, you maybe look in my room and says, oh, look at that nice room and house. Well, all this stuff like nice car, nice house, this is all like on the appearances. It's not really the inside of the society. And I mean, what else? Democracy came, westernization came to the world and brought junk food, now people getting sick, you know, all sorts of things. So I would say be careful what you wish for, because you
Yeah,
don't. If
because
you just might get it. You might get the Western life. You might get the junk food. You might get the
yeah,
pornography. You might have a gay kid and all sorts of stuff.
Brenda,
So yeah, good.
before I have you chime in here, because this what we have been talking about for the last year about
Yeah,
this kind of democracy that introduced to the island. I believe it destroyed the culture and the values and the belief of the people, because they
right.
start introducing things that was a taboo in the island. Now they wanted to fight for the we've seen in places like in New Zealand. They wanted to fight for the right that a woman can marry a woman, and the man can marry a man.
In
This
Tonga?
no, I think in
New
New
Zealand.
Zealand, and
Oh,
I
New
think
Zealand, right.
they were also trying to introduce that to Tonga through the sea door. But
Don't do
I'm
it.
saying yes. I tell you, many of the pastors in Tonga were against it. Many of the ministers in Tonga. But this is very important, because this is something we talk about, Brenda. You and me and Paul, we talk about this, because, and I mentioned to him earlier, this is why we run this show, because we wanted to preserve our culture, because we know there's a lot of things came into our culture and destroyed the culture, but we have
Mhm.
to preserve the heritage and the culture where we grew up, and it's the most beautiful thing that, even though we left the island almost, for myself, over 30 years, and Brenda over 50 years, but we still have that memory of the little island and the life, the simplicity of life and stuff like that. So, and that's our mission of what we're doing right now. So I'll let you chime in, Brenda, and I share with you the four pillars today. And I think that four pillars that we talk about, the respect, the love, the gratitude, and the humility, it's really coming down, because we've seen it because of social media. So
Right.
Mhm.
yeah, go ahead, Brenda.
Yeah. So historically, Tonga was under the almost supervision of England way back, and our royalty was very, very close to Queen Elizabeth and her family. And so I know when I was born, they were visiting Tonga,
In the 50s.
1952. Yeah. And so ever since then, they were inseparable. And so I think both both this is a big continent. England is, and Tonga is just like a period in a map, you know,
A
but
little
a
dot.
very royal, you know, uh, island, and it gave birth to its people, who are, I'm sure we're all related in some, form, shape, or style when we were little. But what you were saying, Gabriel, uh, I'm there with you, because
Yes.
democracy is fine and dandy, but don't rub it in front of our face, because that's your thing, and that's not my thing. You know, they allow freedom to run loosely all over the world and try to influence, and what kind of democracy was they have if they go and take over Hawaii forcefully? Hawaii had royalty ever since they started
Mhm.
from the very
The
beginning.
ancient time, right?
Yeah. and
Sure.
and most of their palaces are still there.
Right.
The royal gravesite is still there, and nobody could go in and try to remove anything there, because you know they're stopped by all those who went past before that.
Right.
Every machine they go in to dig in deeper for some royal property, the machinery's all broken into pieces. That's how strong our islands, have been put together. Samoa, USA took Samoa, like,
Hmm.
just with
Yeah,
a snap.
I
Yeah,
don't. I don't know very much about the Polynesia and these areas. I'm still learning. So, but I
yeah,
know
you will
I've heard
learn.
of Samoa, of course, but I didn't know that
Yeah,
USA took it. Yeah.
yeah, they did, and they're called American
Yeah.
Samoa.
But
Right.
they still have the Western Samoa.
The
It's
Western Samoa
independent.
belongs to
They're
New
under the New
Zealand, I
Zealand.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or so forth. But the main concept of what I'm clinging on to, you know, it's okay for us to be immigrants of a bigger, country, because we want to move there because of civil
Opportunities.
war or violence within your own homeland. That's not why we moved from Tonga.
Hmm.
Tonga, we didn't have secondary education instituted. So when you pass high school, that's it.
Higher education.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Right now, they have universities and colleges, whereas in our time, there wasn't. So
Mm.
for us that pursue higher education, we have to go to England, New Zealand,
Hmm.
Australia, or the USA.
Right.
Yeah, me and Emmeline end up here. But my take on monarchy is still very conceptual. I love my country.
Me
I
too.
love my king, and the
Right.
queen is a very close family of mine. And
Well,
and I take my hat. I have very great respect for them because of the royal family in Tonga. They are church going people, and they're very well educated.
Mm.
They travel so vastly all over the world, and they pick up all the good things to bring to their country, you
Right.
know. And here we are, me and Emelina, our hearts cry out for Tonga. We miss all the things we grew up with. The Sunday meals, like we all go to church. I shared with you Sundays is a day of the week that nobody do anything but go to church,
right.
prayer all day and all that. It's still become lawful in Tonga, isn't it, Emelina? Is it lawful now that it's against the law to break the Sabbath day, or it's still a day
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
can't?
It's a day that you can't do any business or anything right there.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
one of the things that came up with the eruption, one of the island that was, let's say, was damaged a lot, is one of the island that they go there and run the bars and the on Sunday. So it was uh, Barangay Motu, eh? Even though they
yeah.
have that, even though they have in Tonga, uh, no business on Sabbath, but they have this little island. Sometimes people go in there, then just to
To
drink and
do
stuff
the
like that.
the
But
diving.
yeah, but this island, like we said, many of these islands were cleaned up through the volcano
No.
because of all of the stuff that they do is not according to God's will. I tell you that. So, but that's interesting about our monarchy. So, and the values and the belief that we kept in the island. If you don't do right with that, God will intervene. That's how I look at it. So
Right. I want to say something. So you told me about the 2006 Tonga revolution or something. Right?
yes, yes,
I was gonna say about that you told me over there burning down the capital or something, and
yes.
Yes.
you know,
The capital of Tonga is Nuku'alofa. Yeah,
which
they
is
burned
like
it down.
right now. I don't know exactly what that was all about. I mean, I don't know much about Tonga, but generally, I just notice a pattern when I read about the history of democracy and monarchy, the French Revolution, the burning down. I think they were burning down stuff. There's lots of death and lots of killing, and Also, the American Revolution, it was a war, and then
Yes.
the Syrian Revolution, Yemen Revolution. It's constant death. It's like, what do you want that? Okay, and maybe they want a Western style of life, like a lot of people now. Everybody who's not from the West wants the life like the Western people, right? But like I was saying, like be careful what you wish for. You don't. You might get it. And you might think, well, I don't want this. I want to go back to the old way of life. You know, me personally, sometimes I want to just go out into nature and just, ditch this modern life because sometimes it's just too complicated and too hectic. I mean, because everything you have let's say you have a big house, you have to keep up with it. It's not like you just get the house and then you just oh, I have a house now. No, you have to fix this, fix that. If you have a car, you have to constantly fix it, pay money. Everything just becomes very hectic, a complicated modern life. So it's not all what it appears to be, right? So
Right.
what I'm trying to say is people talk about freedom. They want freedom, and but like you said, the Tonga value of gratitude, right? I think that's
Yes.
sometimes people forget that, and they want more. And
Mhm.
usually, the way the human being works is that if they want more, when they get what they have, they still want more, and it never ends,
Right.
right?
That's right.
And what else was I going to say? I'll give another example. I had a very bad insomnia problem for a while, and I have a tent, and I just pitched my tent in my yard one day, in my backyard, and I slept at night, and I noticed that when I was pitching my tent, it was kind of more close to nature, not in my house. It was just kind of in nature, and I felt
Yeah.
kind of the night around me. You kind of feel the night, you hear the wind, and it was much easier for me to sleep. And this modern society we have is very disconnected from nature and the natural way of living. So
Yes.
there's a lot of health problems that come about from that. Especially with the internet, it's also causes sleep problems, I was going to say. And the simpler life. I don't know if you read the book Nourishing Traditions by Weston Price.
Mm-mm.
You read that book? Oh, this was a guy maybe lived in the early 1900s. He went to all sorts of places, kind of like Tonga. I don't know if you went to Tonga, but all sorts of places where there was not modern life, and they just eat traditional foods and everything. And he noticed that their health was totally superb, not like modern people. Modern
Yeah.
people, you look, their teeth compared to them is no comparison. Their
That's
build,
right.
everything. He was actually even saying that modern people have like deformed faces compared to the old primitive
So,
people. Yeah. So my point basically is whenever the Western foods came in, the sugar and everything, just then they had dental problems, then they get heart problems,
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff. Same thing. A lot of health books talk about the same thing. I read another book, Healthy at 100, and he said the same things. You go to the traditional places where they have a healthy lifestyle and healthy food, local food, that they live
And they're
long.
tasty
Yeah, and
and delicious.
a lot of the traditional people are very strong. They have strength that people today don't have, and so I mean, there's goods and bads. The question is, what do you want? And the question is it worth it if you want to get this modern life just to go burn down stuff?
yeah.
I'm not one to judge, but I'm just thinking it from a different way.
Yes.
No, you have. Do you know your mindset and your ideas is along the
We look
sideline of mine.
yes.
Right,
My
We
mind,
look
yeah,
at it,
because I
right.
love nature,
right.
and yeah, and but that reminds me of a Chinese ambassador that visited Tonga, and then he wanted to be interviewed by the media, right?
Hmm.
And this one person asked him, "Why is China got interested in this little small island all of a sudden? Why you guys are bringing your people here to Tonga? We don't have anything to offer. This is just a very down to earth question." And he was very honest back. He says, "Let me tell you the truth. When I was assigned to come to Tonga, they said that Tonga had the most best looking men, the good looking men, muscular and very healthy in the world." And I thought to myself, okay, that's one kudos. Tell me more. And they said, and the women are so voluptuous. Didn't really say voluptuous. I said that because the way he tried to come out with it was like that. Very beautiful, pretty, and all that.
Right, right.
But they tend to be a little bigger. And I said, see, and you guys will never grow to be our size because you all you do is eat rice. I was just trying to be sarcastic.
Hmm.
Answer the question. Why are you here in Tonga? Are you here to take over our country? No way. You know, no way. We ask God to guide and protect our island by the
Hmm.
king Tubo the first.
Right.
And you're here. You like our people, but I don't trust the outsiders to come to
Hmm.
Tonga. And I don't like Tonga not to be shared around the world. I
Right.
like their values to be shared wide and far. I like their examples of their faith to be louder than heck, like the thunderstorms to the world. Because with their faith, they they're not harmed by this big eruption that almost submerged us under. You know, none touch us. Not even the tsunami, Gabriel, touch us. And you think, right? And you think to yourself, why would all these scientists study their little brains out and be doctorate of this, PhD of this, and medical doctor, try to come in line with all this common wisdom and intelligence in these individuals? But they lack one thing: the faith that the Tongan people have. You
Mm.
know,
Hmm.
they know, they prayed, they sing to the Lord. The Lord hears them. You know that? And
Yes.
with me and Emmeline, out of all the media in the United States, why Gabriel all of a sudden got us in mid noon one time and got to us? You were not brought to us. That's how we believe, just
God
by
brought
a
you
pure
guys.
luck. No, there
God
has
brought
to
you.
be a reason, and the reason is I'm hearing you saying how you're attached to nature with your little tent. I love to go and grow my tomatoes out in the woods, you know,
Right.
so that it
And now
won't
he
be.
loves the
Yeah,
monarchy, and we
I'll
can.
give it to you
So
guys.
we'll take a break and come back. Let's take a break
Say
and
hello to your parents, Gabriel,
Okay.
yes,
Sorry.
this is a Tongan song, Gabriel.
and then we go dancing.
That's what we should have.
Wow.
some of the island music, and next time I'll bring in a dancing group, so that way you can see how the
Oh,
things that we
yes.
wanted to preserve, you know. But back to what we talked about, 2006, these people wanted to introduce democracy to the island. I tell you,
Right.
I did not support it, but it divided many Tongans overseas.
Right.
Uh, the way I look at it, and you know, we spoke about this a little bit earlier. Uh, the monarchy system, the king, and then the nobles, and then the commoners like us. At the same time, the king was the one who elected the prime ministers and the uh, what do you call it, the ministers. Okay, so it has been like that for many years. But then 2006, this guy who wanted to be the first elected people's prime minister, as they say, came up with this idea. And then when his idea was not accepted by the monarchy, that's when he, you know, uh, tried to with his little group tried to burn down the capital. So but then the only thing that the only outcome came out of that, they reduced the power of the king by giving the prime minister to be elected by the people, so to speak, you know.
Right.
But for me, when I see the system, you know, I mentioned earlier the parliament was consists of like 9 seats from the people and 9 seats from the nobles. So, but when the new system was introduced, they increased the seats of the people to 17. So to me, it was imbalanced. It was, you know, the power was not really with the nobles, you know. So the people can overtake the nobles and the king, the way I look at it, and how they decided. But at the same time, when somebody is elected as a people representative, that little 17 people came in to the parliament. Within them, they will choose the ministers for the government. So the way I look at it, that is one screw up system. How I look at it, because when the king elected the ministers, the king was very wise on how he elected them, because he picked from experience, he picked from education, so, and he picked from people that will do the job. But when these people representative are elected, like the 17 of them, they will choose now amongst them who's going to be the minister. So I look at here right now is a lot of conflict here. You can be a people representative to represent the people, and then a minister at the same time and represent the government, you know. So that is one screw up system right there. But because many of them just want power, and I think that's how I look at it, it was never really trying to change this for the people, even though the message was like, you know, we are doing this for the people. But the way I look at it, it was never really designed for the people. It was really designed to overtake the king, you know,
Mhm.
how I look at it, you know. So, and that's a message that I see. I can't be coming in as elected uh, people representative. At the same time, I'm representing the government, you know. So this is, if somebody will take a step back and look at it, how can I be a people representative at the same time I'm representing the government? And my job is to make sure the government is like reduce their limit their power, and you know,
Mm.
but that's how I look at it, you know. How
Uh, I was gonna say something. Well, what you're saying about them wanting power, I don't know the Tonga situation very well, but I thought about this about democracy versus monarchy. Well, for example, in a monarchy, the king receives power by the fact that he's born into power. It was not his choice. He,
yes,
it's something given to him, right?
right.
However, in
And God
democracy,
given
yeah,
to him also, you know. Yes,
right. However, in democracy, like USA, for example, if you want to become the president or be in a big position of power or even be a mayor, you have to you have to want to be in power. You have to make that choice and that effort to be in power. So that is really their goal. The goal of anybody who wants to be elected is to be in power, right?
right.
So it is of people who want power, right? So the question is, are any of these people that want power in USA actually trying to help or want or have morals, or do they just try to get in power through the system any way they can? 99% of the time, they just want to get in power by any way they can through the system, right? So that means
Yes.
just to please whatever, if let's say to please a corporation, to give them money to get into power, to or to please the people, please everybody. The elected people eventually don't have any morals. It's whatever they think the morals to get them elected, right? They say to people, and then after they get elected, they might just say, "Oh, I'm not going to do that now, and I'm just going to," they make all sorts of promises they break. So the whole system, I've heard someone say,
They even killed people to get that power. You know what I'm saying? Because there were like 8 people were killed in Tonga to get that power.
Right, and I don't know if you heard the saying. I heard this a long time ago: democracy, hypocrisy, because all the leaders they don't really have their own beliefs. It's just what the beliefs they tell people to get to power. Okay, but also I want to say is that most dictatorships that people think of dictatorships, bad dictatorships, are not monarchies. Maybe some of them in the world, maybe a few, but I'm not talking about Tonga. I'm just saying, I don't know. I would say most dictatorships that people say are bad are actually not monarchies. Like, they are places that claim to be democracies, but they're not. They're fake democracies. So they have all sorts of fake democracies around the world that are actually dictatorships, right? So,
Right.
and if you look at the Arab world and the Arab revolutions, all the countries that did not have monarchies fell into war. And all the countries that had monarchies stayed stable. So Yemen fell into war, Syria fell into war, Egypt had war. I mean, they don't call it a war, but they definitely, thousands of people died in all these revolutions. Libya had war. Trying to think which other ones, but Saudi, they have war with Yemen, but Saudi's a monarchy, and they have war with
Yes.
Yemen because of the revolution against the so-called democracy in Yemen. But the democracy in Yemen was fake democracy. So people revolted against that fake democracy, but nobody inside Saudi revolted against Saudi. And same thing with all the other monarchies in the Middle East. I think UAE or Jordan, none of them had revolutions, and none of them saw the same suffering. So that's my point. Is basically it's more a monarchy is more stable than democracy, because democracy is always like, because you can never really say what is a real democracy, what is fake democracy. So now in America, now they're having this thing about it being a real democracy, fake democracy, because of the elections. People say Trump actually won, and eventually that's going to lead to it being destroyed too. Just like in Myanmar. In Myanmar, they had a dispute over elections, and in Ethiopia had a dispute over elections because they're always disagreeing. Oh, who really won? So, there's problems with this democracy concept. It can lead to a lot of problems. That's my point. I'm not trying to say monarchy is better. I'm just saying that when people think they want democracy, just don't think that this is going to necessarily solve all your problems.
Right.
That's right.
So
Yeah. That's
right.
kind of my point. Yeah.
And Brenda, if you look at Tonga, the last, like, from 2006, we've seen a shift of change. Change in almost everything. But for me, if we stay with that monarchy, it's still going to uphold the 4 pillars of Tonga. But I think the 4 pillars of Tonga has been destroyed since the 2006 when they introduced because we see everything on social media is there's no respect, there's no, now that people are like uh, saying bad things about the king and the family, the royal family. It's all came through this, the last we've been here like I've been here over 30 years. When I left Tonga, that thing I'm seeing now in Tonga is not the Tonga then that I left. So
I want to say something about that. Like, you make a good point, because I always thought there was a connection between certain certain things in USA that are culture things in USA and democracy, because it seems all kind of connected. For example, Burger King, have it your way. If you're just saying have it your way, iPhone, it's all about me, right? Only about me, what I want as an individual, not about the community, right? So this is why I think that this democracy concept leads to this whole idea where everybody thinks they deserve anything they want and everything they want. But that's not necessarily how life works. And because of this whole idea, everybody thinks they deserve everything they want. That's why USA, we pollute the world more than any other country, because to get everything you want, eventually you have to make pollution, because producing all sorts of things and having factories and all sorts of stuff takes energy, and then you have a polluted world. So that's the new modern world that's destroyed the world. And the old world, the monarchy world that people look down on, didn't do half as bad to the environment and to the animals and to the into an environment as what our new modern world has done. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Go ahead, Brenda. Respond to him because I'm gonna find the next.
Yeah. Well, all I'm looking at is people that just sit at home and get bored, decided one day that he's going to run for president, right? You take some classes, maybe 2 nights a week, and then all of a sudden they chose him to be one of our local, you know, people to be mayor, maybe. And then 2 years became a senator. And then after that, in the Congress. And then
Right.
before you know it, he's running for president, right? And
Right.
all the presidents that there was one that I loved, and I loved Kennedy,
Mm.
because my first year in high school, that's when he was assassinated.
Oh.
And I studied about him, and I study about his family and everything. It's all about power, and it's all about money. You know, regardless who says it's not, it just is how they do democracy is, for the people, of the people, and by the people, right? And that's good and dandy. But at the end of the day, when your 4 years is done, you're going to be a good president when you carry on for the next 4 years, or you're going to be trumped it like Trump finished in 4 years, because he was going for a different, whatever he wants in his presidency did not really accomplished for him by him, you know, because he had people that was probably giving him bad advice. But this guy, I love the changes that he brought to the country, you know, and I love the strength he has to tell that guy in Korea, listen, you want to push the button? You go ahead and push it. Because I have a bigger button. I could just push it and you disappear, you know? And it
Mm.
goes to a very childish way of connect his his mind to everybody, and to me, in Tonga lived a life along with the faith. And the strength they have is being honest. They're very honest people.
Mm.
But the influence that comes from the outside can change those adaptation. When you adapt to a life of goodness, oh, believe it, you know, those waves of change will come with influence, whether to the left or to the right, or bad to the positive. It's completely up to you to make a decision. But I like the way you put it out, Gabriel, because you're right. And I like the way Emeline brings out her thoughts on these people that was trying to rush in with this revolution and burn our big city. We were so hurt. I would start yelling on our show to the people, who are you to just decide one day to come and burn down our city? Every Sunday when there's no church, after church, we will walk from our home to the beach and sit down on the beach. You see the blue water, Gabriel? That makes me hurt inside, that I'm all bogged down, shut down in the snow in my home, and I'm not able to swim in those blue waters. 50 years and 50 years plus of my separation from Tonga. But we're setting a trip to go to Tonga very soon, hopefully when the COVID lifted. But I love our dialogue because it knowledge will strengthen us to seek more of why things can be this way and not that way. You know, we're talking about uh, the internet. Whoever
Yeah.
created to be an innovative way of life in the future also bring these kids searching for all this sexuality
Right.
and yeah, and that's bad news you
It is
know
bad news, and that's a very important point because in USA, this stuff's not illegal. You know, people are allowed to make these videos, and I grew up in USA. I know all the kids are watching it, or else all the boys are watching it. So, I mean, just be honest. Just be honest that this is what this democracy has brought, and nobody is willing to say anything about it. People are into this imaginative thing. Oh, we'll just put parental controls, as if the kids are stupid. They don't know how to get through it. The kids know the computer better than you do,
Exactly.
right?
They'll find a way to go around it, huh?
Right.
Uh, our next number, I will show you how the culture been telling in dancing, and men, especially like the Queen Salode, the third king of Tonga, the queen. She is more likely training the culture to tell stories in dancing. And I think I'm bringing numbers so you can see how beautiful the culture that we are trying to preserve, with Brenda. One of our mission here in this USA is to go through this broadcast to help preserve the culture in the island. And hopefully this message tonight, you will see how beautiful this culture, so
Oi whaianga e whakauo. Fio I e kakala, koe tonu aki moyo fo. Nenga ngatu I he loto, o tu ula I he tae mangalo. Kela aho po felenite, muhulu I pola tale. E palo fisai, kua momete, whakamau o e talite, iwe o whai teke, si langi o Tonga, e o tutuku, ko e koma, ka kuoho ko iloa.
Wow, that was incredibly beautiful and amazing. I have a comment about that actually, which I was thinking about. What was the pillars of the Tonga? Respect, humility, gratitude.
Love.
What was the other one?
Love.
Love. I want to say something about respect. I feel like there's a lot of respect in the Tongan music, not like the American rap music or rock music, which is totally crazy, glorifying sex, drugs, and violence. You know,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
it's a very good culture. You see, you have a very good culture, you know, and this look what the democracy culture has brought. Like all this stuff where people are like glorifying drugs and killing and gangs. Like, does that make sense? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. You're so right. Brenda,
Yeah.
unmute yourself. That's the monarchy and the culture that we finally meet with you because you're already in there trying to preserve the monarchy. God brought you to us for whatever reason, but I know this is beautiful that we have this mindset that we really want to support our monarchy, you know? So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. How much time we have left?
I'm looking
We're
at
almost, yeah,
yeah,
close
we have
to.
5 minutes. We have 6 more minutes, and
Oh, 6 more minutes.
yeah. So,
I'll say one more thing unless you have something to say.
no,
Yeah,
go ahead.
If you look at some research studies about democracies, that they tend to kill more civilians in war than non-democracies. So even a Harvard researcher said this. You know, for example,
really.
USA dropping a nuclear bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 2 atomic bombs, and I wanted to say that. And what else did I want to say? Generally, I just think that, you know, having a culture of respect, having a culture of, you know, humility is a good thing, and we need more of that. And right, and we need less of just people who think that they can do whatever they want, even if that means offending everybody and doing all sorts of crazy things, like all the media stars in America, all
Yeah,
Hollywood.
that's right.
I mean, look
right.
at look at the television in America. Jerry Springer, Jerry Springer,
Springer.
Yeah,
and
it's
Maury.
crazy.
All this stuff is really.
I do not want to watch any of those shows. I tell you,
It's like
because
Jerry
I
Springer
don't know
should
why
go.
people put
Yeah.
themselves in shame on that one to go out and you know.
right. It's
That,
like
there's
when I
no
watch
respect, you know.
exactly
I
no respect. Yeah.
Yeah, no respect for themselves.
Gabriel and Emelina, one time I wrote the Jerry Springer show, and I said, your show is for the chicken. That's what I said.
For the chicken.
And yeah, for the chickens, you know. And so
Even the chicken have respect.
he said that in his show. He says, this young lady wrote to me that my show is for the chickens. And everybody laughed so hard.
But
But my purpose of saying that is because those are not very interesting to people, you know. What about our people, our seniors? Would they find fun in that?
Probably
No.
not. No.
They're
no,
disgusted.
And you know, this stuff corrupts the teenagers. It corrupts their culture.
oh yeah, it corrupts the
it,
culture and the
it makes them have
teenagers.
bad behavior, having sex really young and outside marriage, and
Yes.
doing drugs. It's all part of the Hollywood, all part of the media, and this
Yes.
freedom culture is
Freedom.
You
Freedom.
know, but you know
Freedom
one thing.
rings.
Yeah, but
yeah.
you know one
So
thing. One thing I wanted to mention. I think I mentioned to you earlier. I like one thing. I like the free enterprise. Okay, but
okay,
what I don't like. Okay, free enterprise. The only country in this world that can go from zero to hero is America. Okay,
it's true.
you can be your own and you can be like making it in this country. But
Right.
what I don't like when they teach kids to say it's okay to sit around, and being lazy and go claim somebody else's
Mm,
property,
mm,
because the last riots we have over here, because some group they thought they have a right to go, even in California. I saw these women who go in, homeless women, go into somebody's houses and they said they're going to own the house. No, you can't own somebody's house. That person worked hard for that home. But what I'm saying, you can go and we can train you to go work hard for your own house, okay? But
mm,
don't come with the idea that it's okay for you to go take over somebody's hard working. So
right.
that I don't agree with that part. Like when they promote you, it's okay that because Brenda is making all this much money, I can go take half of her money because I'm entitled to that one. No, that's for me, that's the screw up right
Mm,
there. I mean, I have the opportunity to become a millionaire in this country. I'll work hard for it and I can be a millionaire. But
right.
it's not right for somebody else, to come and said, okay, let me take half of your million because it belongs to me too. And I sit around and do nothing in my lazy, ASS or butt and thought that I can be coming and do that. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I look at it. But that's the kind of mentality that they introduces to our young people. I tell you
Society.
one thing. Yes, our society. I tell you one thing. When my husband went to Tonga back in 2011, when he came back, he told me something that kind of making me not happy to hear what's going on in the island. People are, the coconut is more like is everywhere in Tonga there's coconuts, okay? So the old way of us, we go to the plantation, get the coconut and husk it and then scrape it and then get your coconut from there, milk. Now the Tongans are going to the Chinese store and buy the coconut over from the Chinese instead of going to the plantation. But at the same time, what he was saying, young people are just hanging around in the capital with their cell phone. They're no longer going to the plantation and planting their food to eat. They just hang around in the town on the weekend with cell phones. You know what I'm saying? So that's the kind of democracy was introduced to the island, and the kids now, our generation, are losing almost everything. They don't know how to maybe blend
Right.
some kind of thing in there in the island, a food, something, like a yams or a taro or something.
Right.
Now, and I think with this big eruption, I have to say, it's me and Brenda talk about this. This whole disruption was only to take our new generation and have them relearn the culture, because now they're no longer going to be access to the internet. Now they have time to sit
They
down and
lost everything.
yeah, they lost everything. Now they're at home talking with their parents. Maybe they can go start planting some yams and some taros.
Yeah.
Maybe they will start learning how you know, to make
Mhm,
something for themselves. So this
right.
is a time frame. I think God is like in the beginning to because this generation of Tongans are lost. So and they
Yeah.
need to go back to basics. So but
Right.
that's my opinion on that, and I'll give it back to you guys because our time is up. And then any final word?
The Flintstones are still, the Flintstones is still there. They better go
Flintstone.
watch Flintstone and go back to basics. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd have to agree with you, and I just want to say that I don't agree with rioting and all this stuff. I think
Yeah.
I like tradition. I like traditional family. I like traditional morals, and stick to that. It's the best.
That's right.
Yes,
That's right. Yeah.
Further for Malo before I give time to you for the same.
Okay, and so we've been speaking in Tongan the whole show. So this time, we want to just remind everybody that our campaign for donation to Tonga is still going. So if you're watching our show tonight, it's running right below our images tonight, and donation is now it's up to you, however much you want to give in. And then we have an address and a link that you just go in and plug in yourself and do whatever you want to do with whatever you're giving away. So this poor country is going to get something from you, and we appreciate your help. Malo aupito mo mea mai. Want to thank Gabriel for being part of our show. We were guest of honors in his show last night. And
Yes.
so we brought him tonight. So it's beautiful that we get to know the world together, where we are at with this democracy and monarchy and whatever else out there in the world that you want to be. Have a good evening. Malo apito falahayat katimutol. Malo.
And Gabriel, can you
Right.
also mention your podcast or where people can
Oh.
find you?
Right. Yeah. So if you want to see my podcast, go to anchor.fm/collapsology. So that is ANCHOR.FM/COLLAPSOLOGY. I won spelling bee when I was a kid, so yeah.
That's good. Thank
It's
you.
called
That's beautiful.
collapsology.
Yeah.
And this number is from Fiji.
Good dancing.
This is Fiji. Malo, mo mea mai ka lawe ta programa e whawhini, kua e melini wha omni tei, mo mea.